It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
I almost panicked there for a second. You gave the countdown. It was like, oh shit, I don't even have Skype. Yeah, I'm way behind.
Oh boy, those drugs are working real good
They're
tonight.
working good.
It's
Yeah.
just that, Bill. It's just that.
Also, peek behind the curtain for the listeners who now have no friggin' idea what we're talking about. Since Skype went away, we're recording on Discord now.
I'm used to having both of them up, but
Yeah,
think
you're
All right,
good.
that
It's
was
okay. You don't need Skype
my-
open for this.
my little brain fart moment there.
Got to get
Little.
the juices flowing before we get it started here.
At least
Well,
we
she's
got it
awake
out of
now.
the way.
She's awake now.
She is.
I don't know
now.
about awake.
We'll see how long it lasts. But anyway,
Mm. Well, I hope everybody out there is doing okay. Or at least doing better than us. Hey. So,
Right. What day
so
is
what's Dice Day?
it?
So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
it's the Moody Blues' favorite day of the week.
Mm.
Oh man. I haven't done a whole lot. I guess remember I told you guys about that crappy movie I watched last week called what the hell was the name of it? Secretary. I guess since I watched that, it's gonna start throwing me corny sexual movies. I don't know.
Oh,
But-
lucky you.
Right? It's like okay.
Right,
They
right
kind of
up your
shoot
alley.
40 movies off, you know.
Did you say horny sexy movies?
Corny, yeah,
Oh,
but yeah,
corny,
some of
okay.
them are. This one was pretty bad.
Had us spooked.
Mm.
I didn't think it would be that kind of movie because it was a Ben Affleck movie, and
Oh.
honestly, it said it was a drama, and I was thinking, well, I'm probably gonna laugh at this, and that's why I watched it. Right? No, it's called Deep Water, and it was just some deep shit. It I didn't quite understand the story they were going for. His wife was a slut. I mean, not slut shaming, but she was. She was married and had like
Really?
multiple boyfriends, you know. And apparently she thought that he didn't care. I guess she thought she had an open marriage. I don't know. I don't understand that either. But he would wind up like killing these guys. So apparently he wasn't cool with it.
Doesn't sound
You
like
know,
it, no.
right? Rules weren't explained too well to him, you know. But then at the end, it was kind of like she knew, but maybe that was like their kink game or something. I don't know. But it was like, wow. So just to make sure that I hadn't missed anything, I went to the reviews
You
and
had Phil watch it.
no, that was White Lotus. He's still cussing me at that one. But pretty much everyone had the same ideal I did. People were saying that it mirrored his marriage with J-Lo, And it was like, no, because I don't think Ben Affleck's actually killed anybody.
I was going to say, I bet the body count was a little lower.
Right. You know, and I'll leave that
That
alone.
we know of.
Well, sure.
That we know of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just his career.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It was like, wow. But the girl who played in this with him, her name is Anna Amaris, I'm wanting to say. She did the Marilyn Monroe movie too. I mean, she's absolutely gorgeous. And to me, it just was a movie about, I don't know, how many ways he could touch her. I don't, I don't know. But that was another, interesting. They actually said that he dated her during this time that they made this movie. So it's like, yeah, that makes sense. You could definitely, yeah. But no, it's another one of those that I would just tell people skip it. There's not really, I mean, other than her being absolutely gorgeous, there's just not a whole lot more to the movie than that. And
So-
snails.
So how many number of ways to touch her?
Yeah.
How-
Him or her
it
boyfriend.
is
50 ways.
There's 50 ways to leave your lover. Yep.
Right, yeah. 50 ways, and they were all gray.
No, that's 50 Shades. That's different.
Yeah.
Different
Well,
movie.
not this one. This was pretty much the same thing. So
Well, there you go then.
it was all gray. But yeah, it was like I said, it was definitely different. I would definitely, like I said, there's really nothing to gain. The story was stupid. If they were going for the thriller mystery, they totally missed the mark on that because they didn't tell us what the mystery was. Or I guess they did tell us what the mystery was, but not how it ended. And yeah. And I hate when they do that. They're like, well, we're going to leave that up to the audience's imagination. Oh, okay. So you couldn't pay your writers enough to finish your stories. What you're saying.
Right. So somebody couldn't decide how to end it.
Right. Or what to make it look like. And then, of course, you have those stupid people who are like, this was so great. It was like Hitchcock. And it was like, oh my God. I hope you choke on your tongue because this was nothing like Hitchcock.
You mean it just didn't stop and then someone threw up the end?
Well, I mean, no, but it was almost as bad because it was that little look that they give each other at the end, like, ooh, we know something you don't know.
Mike got the reference.
Oh.
It's a Monty Python reference
Okay.
where the sketch just kind of runs out and they're like, okay, what do we do? Just, you want to end it? Oh, okay, yeah. So literally the end pops up on the screen. Everybody
And
walks
then it
out.
rolls credits.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that might have actually helped this movie.
It might have been better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Might have made it more of a comedy anyway.
Yeah, it would have told us that, this is the end, this is it. Although you feel like the story is just starting, this is the end. But yeah,
You say Anna de Armas?
Anna de
Anna
Armas.
de Armas, yes. You said absolutely beautiful.
She was good in Knock Knock.
I don't think I've seen that one.
He's there.
Well, I recommend that one. It's a good watch.
And looking at her, I know she did Marilyn Monroe, but looking at her, she would be absolutely perfect for like a live action Betty Boop too. Just her cute little hourglass figure, and her face has kind of got that, like, I mean, like I said, she's gorgeous, but she's kind of got like that baby face kind of thing going on,
Mm-hmm.
But
I see where you're going with it.
yeah, I think she could probably do that.
Good luck selling Hollywood. But,
Right, yeah. And we probably don't want a live action Betty Boop either, the way they've been ruining everything else. Leave it alone.
See Snow White.
And yeah.
Yeah, Snow White had had significantly less undressing than Betty Boop cartoons.
Yeah. Well,
that's the deal.
What about the Little Mermaid?
The
she
problem
walked
is
around
the
in
rating
coconut
you would
shell.
get with with a Betty Boop movie today.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a whole bunch of movies like that in the 70s. They just weren't Betty Boop movies.
Mm.
There's a lot of clothes disappearing off of women.
But that was more Betty Page, huh?
That was exploitation. But anyway,
No, and then today, In and Out, they've messed with my schedule, and I don't like it. Normally, every day on it's either TNT or TBS, they would play like 2 or 3 hours of Charmed, and then after Charmed, they would play 2 or 3 hours of Supernatural, and then they would go on to Maverick or whatever the hell comes on after that. Well, now they've changed it completely because now it's like one day you get Supernatural from like 8 o'clock in the morning to almost 5 o'clock in the evening, which, hey, I love those days. On every other day, um, they're not on every day anymore. Then they'll do Charmed that way, and then the next day they'll do, without Supernatural. So like Wednesday, they'll do like 3 hours like they normally would do. And then, another day, another, 8 to 5 kind of thing. So it's like, dude, why are you messing with my boys? It's the one thing I see every day that I can bank on. So now I'm still trying to figure out what days are hoe days. Hoe days. They all hoe days.
that too. But anyway,
So I'm trying to figure out the whole days and the half days. And on the half days, though, when it goes off, and Charm doesn't come on the half days, but they'll play like comic book movies and stuff, which is cool. But today it wasn't comic book movies, so that kind of threw me off. But it was John Q. It's probably been forever since I have seen this movie. Probably not the best time to be watching this movie because I mean, it makes you cry because all he wanted was his son to be seen and fixed by a doctor, but since they didn't have the right insurance, you know, he had to freaking hold everybody captive or kidnapped in a hospital. And I mean, it kind of,
this was
it's,
Denzel, right?
yeah, Denzel Washington. And it was I mean, this movie's older. But it's sad because we haven't gotten any better, you know? It shows at the end of the movie where they have, like, Hillary Clinton talking before Congress and, um, that lawyer chick and everybody saying, "Oh, this needs to be changed and, we gotta get better at this." And then we're like, "Wow, we didn't do shit." You know? I think insurance now, some of them have gotten better because I think his whole deal was it was a child and they didn't want to give a heart transplant to a child. And I don't think he had, or I think he did have insurance that had the wrong HMO or something. It was something weird. But, anyways, just kind of shined a light on once again how bad our medical system just needs a complete overhaul. If people are sick, you fix them. It shouldn't matter how much money they have or don't have. But that's all I have.
Okay. Mikey.
Okie dokie. I didn't watch anything that exciting. The movie I watched, I'm still trying to figure this one out a little bit. I watched a movie called Blood for Dracula. This came out in 1974, and it stars Udo Kier as Dracula. All right. So the thing that actually throws me on this is that the Wikipedia page refers to it as a comedy horror film. And not unlike Liz, I'm watching this going, are you sure you're watching the same movie I am? Because this shit ain't funny. there's
Where's
the-
the beef?
there's no comedy in this. I mean, unless some of the just downright silliness is meant to be funny. But boy, it sure didn't seem that way when I watched it.
Was it British?
No,
Oh,
I
Don't
say
take it
that.
out on the Brits.
right. But
Right, what if-
sometimes they find things funny that we don't.
The director was American. The movie, the director and one of the stars was American. The movie was shot in Italy, and apparently was very successful in Italy. This is the reason the reason I kind of landed on this is because this is a movie that Andy Warhol produced. He had practically nothing to, by his own admission, he had almost nothing to do with the filming of this movie, but I think he put the money up. I think he liked the director. Well, the director liked one of the main stars too, and that's why that's why he directed him in like 8 movies. Guy's name was Joe D'Alessandro. Also an American. And if this movie is any indication, he can't act worth shit. Which, I don't know. He's very pretty. I will give him that. But oh man. One of the one major point of silliness that I just couldn't get over was, okay, so Dracula is from Eastern Europe, and he and his assistant, who's named in this movie Anton,
Igor.
not Igor, not Renfield either, which I thought was a missed opportunity. But anyway, they decide, since there's apparently the twist with Dracula is that he has to drink the blood of a virgin, because boy howdy did the word virgin appear in the script a lot. But apparently there are no more virgins in Romania, so they decided, hey, we'll go to Italy because that's where there's like a lot of Christians there, so they're probably all virgins. Well, they end up in this little Italian town, and the town folk send them out to this estate just outside of town where this Italian couple have these 4 daughters. Even with Dracula and Anton, accents are a problem. I mean, okay, sure, they're supposed to be from Romania, whatever. They both have extremely strong German accents. Okay, that's fine. This movie is shot in English. I'm going to throw that out here right now. So we get to the Italian villa. The father is an Italian actor. The mother's a British actor. It doesn't even try to do an Italian accent. Just sounds British the whole time. The 4 daughters, I believe, when I looked it up, I was actually surprised that 3 of them are Italian and 1 of them is French. They all had very different accents. It was really distracting how bad the accents were in this movie, because the Italians had really strong accents. The French girl had a really strong accent. The groundskeeper, who is the other star of this movie, the not Udo Kier star, is Joe D'Alessandro. Motherfucker straight out of Brooklyn. And there is absolutely no attempt to hide it. So the strapping young Italian socialist, because they made a big deal out about that in the script along the way, straight out of Brooklyn. I kid you not. Straight up New York accent. It's so distracting. And so it became, I mean, other than that, I didn't really detect anything funny in this thing until like the last 15 minutes, at which point it just became a slaughter. And it was so weird. It wasn't even good gore at that point. I mean, there had been gore because it's a vampire movie. Of course, there's gore. There's blood. Every time Dracula fed, it was either some sort of weird delivery system for the blood, as opposed to like him biting somebody. Anytime he bit somebody, essentially, he basically then just started throwing up because whoever he bit wasn't a virgin. Not really sure, other than getting people naked in this movie. I'm not sure what point that was supposed to serve, but whatever. There was a lot of naked in this movie too, because not surprisingly, at least two of the daughters were not virgins because they were boning the groundskeeper, often at the same time. This was not the most disturbing part of the movie. So Liz, don't watch this movie.
Well, I
Well, I
mean,
mean,
I don't mind sex in a movie, you know.
No,
But
like I said, okay. The hint I will drop is that the youngest daughter was 14.
oh, yeah.
And what I read afterwards, the actress was not. She was a grown up, but Mario, the groundskeeper, had issues. We'll just put it that way. He was not a peaceful guy. Yeah, I mean, I went into this I went into this wondering if I had seen it before, because it's the kind of movie I would watch. I came out of it thinking, no, I had not seen that before, and I don't think I would actually recommend it to anybody I know. So yeah, they're not all winners, folks.
mm,
No,
Blood.
so
which is
Dracula.
weird because a lot of times we're like, you at least got to watch it once. But
Yeah, no,
two movies in one show, we're like, skip it.
skip it. This is not. I mean, and I'm telling everybody this as a public service. I mean, and I'm saying this. Les has probably seen it because Les has
No,
seen
I haven't. But
Really?
yeah.
Have you seen the one that came before it, which was called Flesh for Frankenstein? Same director.
No,
Okay.
but I am
Interesting.
interested.
Well, of course you are.
Mm.
Yeah, it's okay. I will say this: if you are a fan of Udo Kier, you should probably watch this movie just because, just to watch him chew the scenery. He is the only decent actor in this movie that I can tell. And he, okay, in all fairness, he was probably intended to be the comedy. And the problem is that it's a very sick sense of humor because he spent a lot of the time in this movie, either, like I said, throwing up on camera. And we're talking about, he's a vampire. He's throwing up blood. It's not pretty. Or having convulsions because he's starving. And boy, does he do that well. I mean, in a overacting to the nth degree sort of way. If that was intended to be the comedy in this movie, that's a sad statement, but it was almost funny how horrible that was. I no other redeeming qualities, honestly. It was bad. There was no reason for that many corpses at the end of this movie either.
Sounded like it needed the graphic satire kind of flash on the screen the entire time.
Yeah, and if it had been any more political, I would have said so. I would have said yes, but the one guy ranting about socialism and how the aristocracy is going to hell in a handbasket hardly counts as satirical.
Okay.
And I mean, this is set in the 20s. This is set in the 1920s. So it's actually pre weird political shit in Italy going on. But yeah, it's just If there was anything satirical about it, it was more of a weird riff on vampire movies than anything. So I don't know. I don't think it would have worked for that either.
You said the groundskeeper's name was Mario?
I believe so, yeah.
It's me, Mario.
Oh no, like I said,
It sounds like a more appropriate name would have been Willie.
that would have been more fitting too, but
I was thinking Carl, but okay.
Sorry, I don't get that reference. Is that Caddyshack?
Yep.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure. It's been forever since I've seen Caddyshack.
It has been a while.
I don't know why my mind went to the Carlton dance.
Why not?
Right.
There had been more Carlton dancing in this movie, it would have been better, but
there would have been your comedy.
It would have been funny. Instead of a couple of German guys walking around asking about virgins.
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 Yeah, that's mine. That's mine for this week.
Cool.
It was on Tubi, by the way. Not that anybody should watch it, but
I shall.
Right.
I'm
Want
sure
to
you
torture
will.
yourself, you know.
Les has a preternatural love of terrible movies, so any movie I say don't watch, he's all over.
You got it, sir.
Just to see.
He wants to see how bad it is, right?
Through that.
Speaking of Les.
Hello. I took in a couple of movies. One from 1938 and one from 74, I believe it was. First one was Terror of Tiny Town. And it is a Western. A Western that has an all-midget cast.
Dear God, dude, where do you find these things?
Nice. I'd go to hell watching it.
It was amusing, and there were scenes in it. I know we're not supposed to be. Well, yeah, I'm sure they were originally supposed to be funny, but
But for the wrong reasons, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh. It's a little short on the story.
Oh, damn.
Oh, wow.
Well, I was about to ask if it was a short film.
No, it was not a short film.
Okay.
There was something amusing to me to watch a man get off his horse and walk under the hitching post without tipping his cap or his hat off or anything. So that's kind of what sucked me into this thing.
First thing, you talk about a little person getting off a horse. I'm thinking, does the stairway have TWA down the side?
No. But good point.
Ah.
And watching this made me think, well, maybe you could find another movie like this. And lo and behold, I watched a movie that was done in 1974, starring Angel Tompkins and Barbara Rhodes. Does anybody remember Barbara Rhodes? I didn't think so.
No.
The name sounds familiar.
It sounds familiar, but
she was on a TV series with Alan Adam Arkin, I'm sorry, where she was a neighbor. Okay, and the name of this movie was about a woman who stole from a gangster. And then she ran away. She found a group of actors that were stealing from people as they were doing a performance. The name of this one was Little Cigars. The 5 men in this movie, or the major men, were all midgets. So yes, I watched 2 midget movies. And I remember seeing Little Criminals before, or Little Cigars. I remember watching that when I was mucho youngo. And it still had a little bit of charm to it. It was funny to a point. It was about an hour and a half long. It just struck me as funny to sit and watch these. So that's about what I've got this week.
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, I knew the name. I knew the name sounded familiar when I saw her picture.
Mm-hmm. Very pretty woman.
Yeah, she did a lot of guest appearance on TV shows. She also was on Match Game quite a few times. She was also in the film The Shakiest Gun in the West with Don Knotts.
Okay.
She was
recurring role on Soap.
Yep.
That's probably where I would have seen her.
Scream,
Was it-
Blackula, Scream.
Jeez. But that's
We didn't
about
watch
what I
that one
got.
for the show, did we? Or that no, I watched that for something else. That's right.
You watch.
I watched that.
you
I
watched
was as a guest on another show.
Right.
That would have been an all the horror thing.
But
Who
yeah.
who was the lead in that?
Is Scream Blackula Scream?
Yeah.
That's the one that Pam Grier was in. I'm trying to remember who the guy was. I'm not remembering his.
William Marshall.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
he was Blackula. He was the vampire.
Right. Yeah, and he went on to do several movies himself.
Yeah, he did both of the Blackula movies and a bunch of movies and TV stuff. Don Mitchell was the other
Don
guy
Mitchell,
I wasn't
yeah.
thinking of. Yeah.
He was on Ironside.
Mm-hmm.
And of course,
Now, that is a much better vampire movie than the one I watched, too. But not the least of which because it had Pam Grier in it.
Of course, William Marshall was also on Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And actually played Dr. Daystrom on an episode of Star Trek, original series.
He did. It was a fun role because you got to watch the character lose his friggin' mind throughout the episode. He did quite well on it too. Anyway.
and he also had a bit part in Amazon Moon as one of the video pirates.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah. There you go. Another Amazon on the Moon reference.
Woohoo! The pirate captain, as is credited as.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Anything else, Les?
Oh, that's it for me.
Okay. Well, I caught a movie, and this is on Tubi. It just hit on Tubi here recently. It is the 1989 version of Agatha Christie's 10 Little Indians.
Okay.
And this is listed as it was based on the 1943 stage adaptation of the story.
Mhm.
This stars Donald Pleasance, Brenda Vaccaro, Frank Stallone, guys. Frank Stallone,
Yeah.
Ooh.
Herbert Lom, and Warren Berlinger amongst the cast.
Hmm.
It was a decent version. It took place in Africa, so they were isolated in Africa, a place in Africa. I don't remember if they actually listed. They mentioned the name of a town or whatever. It was just out in the middle of nowhere. But
Right.
On the plains of Africa.
you bless the rains in Africa. Okay,
Mhm.
you got to take some time, do the things we never ever do.
Did you take a plane to Africa?
Hmm?
Did she take a plane to Africa?
No, bless the rains.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't take a plane because we know what happened to Robert Redford.
Well, only you do, because we haven't seen that film.
None of the rest of us have watched that movie, mainly because you have been so adamant that it's terrible.
Well, there is that. Yeah.
It's a pretty good version. The thing that kind of really kind of stood out for me is Herbert Long's performance. He's playing the general, and all he really wants to do is he really just wants to die so he can be back with his wife. And it's a very touching performance. The rest of the characters, oh, Paul Smith is also in this. Paul Smith, and that's
Bluto?
probably huh? Yeah,
Bluto?
Bluto from the live action Popeye.
Popeye.
Yeah, he was also one of the brothers Harkonnen in David Lynch's Dune
Okay.
with Sting. So, for the most part, these characters you don't really. Didn't really care one way or the other, but I did care for his. I cared for his character because he was he gave a very sympathetic performance, and I thought that was kind of good. It kind of it's just something that you don't see a lot from him, because I mean most would think of the Pink Panther films.
I was going to
'Cause
say
he
he's
was
very sympathetic in A Shot in the Dark.
yeah, because he's basically being tortured by the incompetence of Clouseau.
Mm-hmm. I felt very, very, very strongly for the guy in that movie. But also, he's been in a lot of other stuff, and
Oh, he's been in a lot of other
he's
stuff.
he's really good.
He's a
Yeah.
really good actor.
First one I remember is the werewolf movie that he did back in the 70s, 60s.
But I was thinking when I was watching this, because like I said, this came out in '89. I was thinking, we're all big Donald Pleasance fan. So I was like, this is pretty close to before him passing away. So I thought things would. So I was like, there couldn't be a lot of films left. He actually had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 films come out that year that he was in, including Halloween 5. And then the following year, there was 2 films. 91, 3 films. 92, 1. 93, 3. And then then there was 4 films after 95, and those were after he had passed away. Well, technically 3,
Okay.
because they list Halloween Kills as his performance. It wasn't him. It was a stand-in. That's a lot of films right there at the end.
Well, and that's after starting in the late 30s in Czech
Yeah.
cinema.
So, I mean, he was pretty good in it. I mean, it's not like the performances were bad in the film. They were all good. It's just they were just not characters that I felt anything for other than the general.
Right.
So,
Nice.
yep.
Very cool.
Uh-huh. And like I said, that is on Tubi. So, before we take our first break, I do want to make a programming note that no new episode next week. It's our scheduled week off. So we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll start up again for a little while. So just be aware of that. So if you miss us, hey, there's 400 plus episodes you can go back and check out, kind of fill your time. But
don't go too far back. It gets weird.
Mm.
Yeah, it's weird.
We were finding our footing.
Some probably say we're still trying to fill it.
We're still looking for feet here.
Still haven't found what we were looking for.
Oh,
2 left ones.
So, on that bad note, let's go ahead and take our first break. Welcome back. As you've known for the last couple of weeks, so this is Star Wars month for us, and we're actually finishing it up today. And we are finishing up with the sequel that could have happened, but didn't happen. And I am talking about Splinter of the Mind's Eye. If you're not familiar with the backstory of this, George Lucas had commissioned Alan Dean Foster to write a story, which could be eventually adapted into a low-budget film, just on the case of if Star Wars had been a modest hit, that he could be able to continue the story, but it would be done on a cheaper scale than what he originally planned. So Lucas had set several conditions. First off, limited cast. It was only going to be Luke and Leia, and then the droids. So no Han Solo, no Chewbacca, and all that. 2, no dog fights, so you kind of cut back on special effects there. Everything was going to take place on one planet, so that kind of takes care of the sets. So Alan Dean Foster went off, and based off the conversations he had Lucas regarding the lore, sat down and wrote this story. Of course, as we know, Star Wars was a humongous hit, so George was able to do what he wanted to do. So this has been kind of forgotten, and it shouldn't be, because this is actually the first, between this and the comics that were being produced by Marvel, was basically the beginnings of the expanded universe. So these are so this is a significant story in the franchise. So with all that laid down, let's talk a little Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, not surprising in any way, but interesting that it was Alan Dean Foster that ended up doing this, because damn, that guy was prolific.
Oh God, yes.
He wrote an insane amount of stuff in his career. And I mean, from what I read, what they originally brought him in for was the novelization of the movie,
Right.
Star Wars. So, which was right up his alley in that time. But
he did a lot of novelizations of films back during this time too.
Yeah.
So
Did he not do Alien?
yeah, he did a Black Hole too.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
No,
please.
no, go ahead. No.
Okay, you want to step outside, pal?
More fighting than talking at this point.
When this came out in '78, it came out in both a hardback and a paperback, and they were 1 month apart on their release. I got a copy of this in paperback when it was first offered. I read it, loved it, and thought for sure this was going to be the base of the new Star Wars. Because the first one, of course, did incredibly well. So I was hoping that this would be the crux of the new movie. Obviously, it was not, but to me, it gave you such a wide expanse on what the theory was for these characters. I loved it. Like I said, I was hoping it would be the new thought process for the movie itself.
Yeah, it's a fun little story. I also read that the reason that Han Solo and Chewbacca weren't included was that when he was commissioned to write this, when Alan Dean Foster was commissioned to write this, Harrison Ford was not under contract to do any sequels.
Well, that's true. That's true too.
Yeah.
So it didn't make sense to add him into the story.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time George had the money to afford Harrison Ford again, he was already probably past this story and wanted to do something bigger.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually kind of like the fact that it's set in one place. It gives them a chance to actually do some characterization.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily just Luke and Leia, although that was fun too. The dynamic between those two was pretty different from what we got in Empire. And I kind of liked that. It was more like they were friends.
Mm-hmm.
they seem to genuinely like each other. And they get to add more characters. And they also managed to bring in Darth Vader. Not in the menacing Vader is now hunting Skywalker sense that we got in the movies, but in the Vader just kind of figured out what was going on. He was in the neighborhood and decided to stop in, sort of thing. Well,
Yeah.
and they actually summoned him, in all fairness, but when they captured Luke and Leia, they summoned him. There may be spoilers here, but for a almost 50-year-old book, but
I think you're right.
yeah, it's almost a more realistic version, or a more realistic story than what we ended up getting. It's a little more down to earth, which I like. I think that's a fun contrast with the first film. And also the Yuzum are cool.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, they're somewhat ripped off from Wookiees, but still, they're cool.
Yeah.
Well, he's just ripping off from himself, so it's not like it's.
Sure. I mean, if there's one species like that in the galaxy, why wouldn't there be more than one? And they're not identical or anything. It's just
Similar.
Yeah,
I enjoyed this story too. It would really be cool if they would do this as in like maybe an animated film. I mean, I don't know if there's enough interest.
Well, and like you said, it's kind of forgotten now.
Yeah.
I mean, partly because not a big deal was made of it at the time, and also
Right.
partly because now Disney has thrown canon out the window.
Yeah.
But, with the way that Disney's kind of picked up on the Star Wars property in their I hate to say children's programming, but there's been quite a few of them, so it's possible they could pick something like that up. Have you guys seen any of the stuff that they've put out recently for the children's programming?
Am I going to surprise you if I say no?
No. I'd be surprised if any of you said yes.
I don't have Disney Plus, so no.
Yeah. I think they've done better in their children's programming than they did with the movies, to be honest.
Unusual.
So,
I don't find that hard to believe at all,
yeah.
especially given
Well,
your opinion of the recent movies.
Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be bad to see them animate it. They might do better.
I mean, and there was a graphic novel of it back in the day.
Right.
So it's not like it would be that big a jump.
Yeah.
That's actually what I reread for this, was the graphic novel version. Had to refresh myself because I hadn't read it in so long.
That's true. I understand that part.
It also gives us an early look at some of the I mean, I hesitate the technology, but some of the mystical elements of the Force, that whole Kyber crystal thing.
Mm-hmm.
They that later on in some of the other stuff, but I mean those really go into it, but
Yeah. Yeah, they repurposed the kyber crystal because the kyber crystal is now what they say powers the lightsabers.
Hmm.
So
So
it's not just the one big one.
right, yeah, as opposed of what this was supposed to be amplifying the force in users.
It was vague,
Yeah, it was vague.
and rightly so. It was an early thing,
Right.
but yeah, the idea that stuff out there that can alter the way the works. The predecessor to a bunch of the stuff that they did. I mean, they used some like specific force-based technologies, like the Clone Wars series,
Mhm.
and I touched on it a little bit. I want to say in episode 2, Attack of the Clones, if I remember correctly. Harry and Obi-Wan went there and was looking stuff up in these cool things.
Yeah.
I forget the term. What was it they called them? It came up more, like I said, the Clone Wars. There were stories that revolved around there. Somebody was going to find, there was a missing one or something, and somebody had to go find it.
Right.
It was basically like a
Um,
little hard drive full of Force data. I don't know. I forget what the name
Yeah.
was. It's been a while since I
Yeah.
saw Clone Wars too.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank right now.
But you know what I mean.
Mm,
So the deal is it's kind of a fun little present. So
Yeah.
clearly Lucas read it, and clearly lots of other people who have worked on Star Wars since have read it and pulled variations from it, pulled ideas out of it.
That's true. Very true. Some of them were doable. They were stories that could have been done. Characters, I would have loved to have seen a film with Mara Jade, but that didn't come about either. There are some good ways they could have handled it later. This one would have been fun for, like I said, as a movie, but even as a production by Disney or something, I think it was viable. I thought it was a good read, good solid read. So I was one of those that was eager to see it. Thought for sure they would do this one.
Mhm.
Imagine my regret.
Yeah, you always were an optimist, though.
The hell you say?
I know I got a lot of nerve calling somebody that, huh?
No, not really.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, in this day and age, especially, the idea of you're gonna struggle with people with the idea of recasting a young Luke and Leia, but it might be interesting as to see if they could stretch this out into like a 6-episode miniseries thing. Get 6 hours out of this. Would be tricky, but I bet it could be done.
I think I'm going to go with Liz on this. Just make it an animated program.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure.
And they could be little.
Little?
or younger.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say. We're not going back to Les's Little People movies again with this.
Don't get short with me.
Oh,
There's
size
another
does too matter.
Mm.
Care what Yoda says.
And I'm leaving that one alone.
Why start now? I mean, come on. I lob one up there for you like a softball, and you just won't swing.
She's thinking about her horny, sexy movie
That's
again.
just-
Mm.
well, not too horny because it had Ben Affleck.
Oh, my understanding of Ben Affleck is that he gets pretty horny. That's for sure.
Yeah, he was.
There are all kinds of stories, especially when he makes as many movies with Kevin Smith as he did. He should have known that those stories were going to come out.
Mm.
Yeah.
He ain't nothing but a horn dog. You were saying, Les?
I'm done. Good Lord.
Yeah, how do you bring that one back around?
Right. I don't think he can. I think it's
No.
lost.
Okay. Well, any final thoughts? We'll just go ahead and wrap things up, and then we'll take another break. Read the book if you can find it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's around.
Or at least read the graphic
Does
graphic novel or trade. Yeah.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's also around. I picked mine up at a free comic book day event. If I remember correctly.
Da-da-da.
Who was the writer on that one?
On the comic,
On the comic, yeah.
I don't remember
It
who wrote
was-
it, but it was Chris Sprouse that did the art.
Terry
Yeah.
Austin wrote it.
Very often. Okay. I like Chris Sprouse's work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he
I
did a
have
really
not
nice job in
read
this.
the version of it, but I'm sure it is unbelievably cool.
Oh, it looks great.
It does.
So yeah, definitely check it out.
Mhm.
So, okay, on that note, we are going to go ahead and take a quick break and then be back with Geek News for You. And we're back. It's time for Geek News for You. In this segment, we bring a couple news items to the table for discussion. This week it is Mike and myself. And Mike, would you go first, please, sir?
Oh, sure.
No, sure.
So my article is a little bit spoilery, or at least that's the impression. So apparently, Chris Claremont, who many loyal listeners will know, is basically the guy who brought X-Men comics back from the brink in the late 70s and through the 80s.
Mhm.
Well, he's been busy ever since then because he's actually a really good writer. But apparently he was at a con this weekend talking about Avengers movies that are upcoming because we are slated for Avengers Doomsday in May of next year.
Wow.
Apparently, Avengers Secret Wars is slated for May of 27.
Right.
And for some reason, Chris Claremont was talking about Secret Wars and allegedly dropping spoilers. He's either dropping spoilers or just completely talking out of his ass. So let's hope it's spoilers. Because he mentioned, let's see, that some of the tidbits was Robert Downey Jr. will play multiple characters in this movie, including Iron Man. Chris Evans is coming back as Captain America. And Elizabeth Olsen is apparently coming back as a, quote, good Scarlet Witch.
You a good witch or a bad witch?
And even this article is not sure that he knows exactly what he's talking about, but it's at least fuel for the rumor mills. So, that's always fun. But yeah, so he's got at least opinions on where the Avengers movies are going in the near future.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I saw some discussion on Reddit, and it reminded me. I had totally forgotten about this, but but they were talking about, Evans coming back but he wouldn't come back as Captain America. And I was going, okay, well, what are y'all thinking? What are y'all thinking? And someone reminded me that in Secret Wars 2, which I know none of y'all read, when the Beyonder came to Earth and he was looking for the physical form to become so he can be able to interact with everybody, he picked the person who was peak human ability, and that was Steve Rogers. So could Chris Evans come back as the Beyonder?
Maybe.
I mean, we'll find out here in another. Who knows? Maybe a couple of years. We might know something next summer because they may tease it a little bit.
They may, because if they're planning on it coming out a year after Doomsday, they've got to be working on it already, right?
Right.
Because it takes forever to put one of those movies together.
Oh God, yes. And I was thinking about this. I thought about this a couple weeks back. Part of me, I know why they did it. I know why they did it, because it generated interest. But part of me wishes they had not revealed that Downey Jr. was coming back and he was playing Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
I wish we had not known that until we got a teaser trailer. You end the teaser trailer with that reveal and everybody go, what the fuck? Everybody did it when they revealed it at the what was it, San Diego? I don't remember where it was now. Anyway,
probably San Diego.
Yeah.
Right. I get why they did it, because it's drumming up interest, and considering how things have been going.
Well, and the other part of that is that it might actually work to their benefit in avoiding that what the fuck at the last second with the teaser trailer, because that could be enough to run people off, and you want people to get excited about that, not freak out. So it could actually be as much a softening of that blow as anything else, because it's a hell of a twist.
It is.
I mean, they didn't need to do that, honestly. I mean, I question. I'm not saying that Downey can't play Doom. I think it would be really interesting, but there are a lot of other people who could too.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily need to recycle Downey. And
Well,
they don't want him to be mistaken for Iron Man because he's a dude wearing a mask again.
right.
I mean, it's green and not red, but still.
Well, it just when that came out, some people and I get why they thought this. Seemed like it was a panic move, considering how the films and the TV shows have been received the last little while. So
I mean, maybe.
you're trying to recapture some of that old glory by bringing the guy who brought the pizzazz.
I can see that.
I mean, I could see that.
Yeah, I
So,
can see it too. I don't know that I like to see it, but
yeah, I'm not
And
saying.
I think it's a
But
chicken
wait,
shit move, and that if
there's
that's the case,
more.
it's a chicken shit move.
Yeah, I mean, I
But
don't
they
know
also
if it is or not, and no, they will never admit it. But
right, they also have hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, so I mean, I kind
Yeah.
of can forgive them a bit of a chicken shit move.
yeah, so
Well, I think it's a solid chicken shit move.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but Downey had established himself as a hero.
Mhm.
He does this, he's going to be a villain. I understand some of their reasoning. Mainly because, yeah, they're both in masks and the like, but do they have that much of a difference, a tenor in voice? I don't think so. I think that's what they're going to have a problem with, is convincing people that Downey's playing two different characters, but he's not the same guy. Well, what guy is he? So, to
Right.
me,
This is
no, to me, it doesn't look right.
yeah, this is where we're going to find out how much of Tony Stark was Downey acting, or how much of it was just Downey,
Yeah.
and how much he's going to be able to bring to how differently he can do his job to play Doctor Doom.
True.
It will be an interesting test of his skill.
And I know personally, I think he is a good actor,
Mhm.
but I just don't know that Marvel will be able to pull all of this off.
Yep.
But maybe I'm just talking out my ass.
No.
That's pretty much our job here, right?
Right.
What? To tell everybody that I'm just talking out my ass?
No,
Nice
for all of us
guy.
to talk out of our ass.
Yeah.
That's what podcasts are for, isn't it?
Here, here.
there,
Where?
their
The
wolf,
grouse.
their castle. Okay. Well, since we're talking about movies, from the Department of, yeah, I wouldn't have ever guessed this was going to happen. Variety is reporting that Story Kitchen and Toys R Us Studios are getting together to do a Toys R Us movie.
Not live action. Please don't.
Yeah, live
Like
action.
a
Oh,
like a
yeah.
5 Nights at Freddy kind of thing, or
Well, Well, what they're saying, what it's being described as in the vein of A Night in the Museum, Back to the Future, Jumanji, and Barbie. Those are the films that they're saying it's going to be kind of in similar to.
Hmm.
So my question here is, do we get the talking giraffe or not?
I know. They got to bring Jeffrey.
I would think so.
I mean,
Hmm.
if you're going to do Jumanji, if you're basing this partly on Jumanji, why not, right?
Right.
Hmm.
Interesting.
That is.
Is Toys R Us even?
I don't
They're
think they
trying.
are.
They're trying to come back. I think there's like a couple of them in some other stores, but I don't. I've heard something about that, but I don't. But I don't remember right now. They're trying to make a comeback.
I
Who
think
knows?
you're right. I think there's like 1 or 2 stores that they brought back.
Yeah. So. But yeah, I saw this and I was like, okay.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out who their audience for this is and who wants this, but
Right.
I don't know.
Are they really looking to the audience to talk about this? I don't
Well,
think so.
I mean,
yes. I mean, you'd almost want to hit the kids because you're toys, right?
Okay.
But kids
But-
today, Jeff, they didn't grow up to be a toy, you know? So it's kind of a, like I said, who's asking for this? I don't want to see it, and I'm a toy person. I didn't grow up because I was a Toys R Us kid. You know? But
right. How do you? And the deal is going to be how do you balance?
how do you do it?
Appealing to the little kids and also hit the nostalgia of the people who remember going to Toys R Us.
Yeah, but you know, we know Jeffrey, the giraffe, but it wasn't like, I don't know, a Disney toy store. It's all Disney. You know what that is? There's a property they can go with. What main thing us have? They had everybody else, so it's not like they have anything you can really build on other than Jeffrey. I don't know where they're going with that. I don't think there's enough intellectual property tied up with Toys R Us. Their stuff is everybody else's stuff. It's Mattel and Hasbro. Disney stuff is Disney stuff. It's Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. And how do you build on?
Well said.
Yeah, it's a mystery. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
we'll find out if they get their funding to do this. I mean, I don't know how a bankrupt toy store company is going to scrape together the funds
Fund a
to put
movie,
together
yeah.
this movie that's based on some pretty CGI heavy influences, apparently. But whatever.
Hmm.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yay.
Right. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Right.
Might be a
Okay.
straight to video kind of thing. That might work better for them.
They might not have a choice either.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a Five Nights at Freddy's in not only in story but also in budget.
Right. Ooh.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying they better get a Matthew Lillard to pull it off then.
No, why not just go straight to the source? We'll just get Nick Cage.
Well, very true.
As the voice of Jeffrey.
It's a thought. It's a thought.
Mm.
He
I
didn't
don't know if
talk
it's
in
a
the
good
last
thought
one.
or not, but it's a thought.
All righty. Any special shout outs or mentions this week?
No, not me.
Nope.
Nothing here. Sorry.
And just a reminder, no new episode next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks. So, all right, we'll move on to our regular shout outs. First of all, I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture for allowing us to be part of a great little podcast network. We recommend that you check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who spread the word of the fellowship by retweeting our links. And that is better known as Potter and Family. Best way to check them out is to do a search, hashtag Potter and Family. That's all one word. Just scroll through and click on whatever catches your eye, and hope you have a great time listening to them. Want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. In our show notes, there'll be a link where you can check out some of their other music if you so incline. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. You can reach out to us via email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or go to the website. You can go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form you can fill out. As we mentioned earlier, we do have a Discord that you can join. Discord is free to sign up, and it's free in the app stores. We do have an open invitation on our homepage. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, stuff to laugh at, stuff to watch. We'll do movie nights on there. So if you want to come hang out with us, by all means do that. We welcome you. In terms of social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks, on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. We are at Fellowship Geeks. If you want to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at Tom TC Geek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We appreciate the support as always. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,